sommes en place. On peut faire un essai-test avec ça. Je vais faire un petit décompte après, Anne.
Ouais, très bien. Bon. Ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and governments, honorable ministers, dear friends and colleagues. I am delighted to welcome you to this unprecedented AI summit in Paris, co-chaired by President Macron and Prime Minister Modi. I would like to start with of an inspiring woman and scientist, Marie Curie. She said, "In life, nothing is to be feared. Everything is to be understood." And she continued, "Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less." I believe these words are particularly meaningful here today. After months of travel and preparation, I am delighted to welcome you in this iconic venue, the Grand Palais. The Grand Palais is a hallmark of innovation and modernity. It is in its very DNA. And I think it reminds us today that progress stems from the exchanges of ideas and the exchanges of cultures. This is the very spirit that has guided us in the preparation of the AI Action Summit. Before I give the floor to Dr. Fei Fei Li, whose presence today is both a pleasure and a privilege, allow me to highlight 3 key points. First, this summit is a moment of true global openness to the world. Many countries still fear that their only choice is to be customers in the development of AI, that they're not able to develop their own solutions. Researchers and innovators, on the other hand, who are the ones who are driving these advances, are too often sidelined in global conversations. This must change, and today marks a turning point. Over 800 contributors from more than 100 countries, from governments, from international organizations, from academia, from industry, from civil society, have worked with us to prepare and shape this summit. I want to thank them all. I want to thank you all. Second, it is high time that we move from science fiction to the real world of applications of AI. With its unprecedented potential, artificial intelligence fuels both immense hopes and, at times, exaggerated fear. Today, you will be able, here at the Grand Palais, to see concrete applications and use cases of AI. They have been selected from more than 700 candidates worldwide. And third, now is the time to act together for shared progress. I know we share the same determination that we want to shape our future. Shared progress means, on the one hand, enabling a sustainable development of AI. Given the urgency of the environmental crisis, we know that AI can help mitigate climate change, but we also know that its current trajectory is unsustainable. We must reconcile the digital transformation and the ecological transition. We also need, in terms of the transformation of jobs, to help ensure that it augments jobs and doesn't replace them. On the other hand, shared progress means developing AI for the public interest. Together, we must build AI commons. We must enable the development of decentralized innovation hubs worldwide for applications in healthcare, in education, in cultural access. This is our collective responsibility, and we must do it together. The Grand Palais today is welcoming you all. Tomorrow, heads of states will be meeting again in the morning in the venue, and the whole ecosystem will be meeting at Station F, the largest incubator in France. On behalf of the AI Action Summit team, welcome to Paris, welcome to the Grand Palais, welcome to the AI Action Summit. Thank you all. And now, Fei Fei, the floor is yours. Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm waiting for my slides to load. I hope you're having a great time in this beautiful morning in Paris. Could I please have my slides? Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I'm truly honored and excited to be here with all of you this week and to be delivering this opening speech. And I really look forward to some of the most action-packed discussions and possibly even decisions. So for many of us, AI is often framed as a story of technology and the modern world, and certainly a story of the future. That's why all of us are here. But for me, it's also a story that reaches so far into the very beginning of all of our existence that it started 500 million years ago. It was such a distant time that the very notion of sight didn't yet exist. In fact, the eyes themselves had yet to evolve, and not a single living thing laid eyes on this world, leaving all life in the darkness you see on the screen now. Of course, 500 million years of history is a little long to unpack in about 10 minutes. So here is the TLDR. The moment evolution endowed the simple creatures you see here on the screen the ability to sense the world around them and to react to these sensations, however dimly, an arms race in evolution began. What started as a passive experience, the simple act of letting in light, soon become much richer and far more active. The nervous system began to evolve. Sight turned into insight. Seeing become understanding. Understanding led to action. And all these give rise to intelligence. And this would reshape the very nature of life on Earth forever. Today, fast forward 500 million years later, human intelligence has led our species to imagine and shape the way we work and live in every possible ways. And we're no longer satisfied with just having nature's gift of intelligence. Our curiosity now urges us to create machines that are just as intelligently as all of us, if not better. Hence, the quest of the seminal technology that we are talking about this week began in the mid-20th century. Alan Turing, a great mathematician in UK, was so prescient that even before computers existed, he was already grappling with the philosophy of endowing them with the cognitive ability rivaling our own. to me, his writing has always been a dare, daring humanity to be bold enough to imagine thinking machines as he had imagined. The very same spirit of curiosity and ambition also gripped early computer scientists in America, who not only convened the first research project to explore possibilities of thinking machines, they also coined the term artificial intelligence itself in the steamy summer of 1956, decades before it reached public consciousness. And this is the screenshot of the very research paper they wrote for this workshop. Admittedly, what was really amusing is they think that in 2 months, they would solve a huge part of this problem and unravel the mystery of intelligence. Maybe they were a little optimistic, but you have to admire their audacity. Today, we're 820 months into that 2-month project, but we made some solid progress. Another misconception of AI is that it's simply a matter of computers and engineering, when in fact, it has always been a multidisciplinary pursuit of incredible vibrance. The modern AI era that we are living in now is a result of the convergence of 3 profoundly important yet distinctive technological and scientific advances. First is the study of perceptual algorithms, how living creatures like animals or even ourselves make sense of the world around us, and eventually the creation of mathematical models that allow machines to do the same. A few years after Alan Turing's daring conjecture at the Dartmouth AI Summer Workshop, neurophysiologists Hubel and Wiesel have shed first light on the hierarchical architecture of neuronal processing of the mammalian visual cortex, earning them a Nobel Prize and transforming our understanding of the visual processing. Around then, psychologist Frank Rosenblatt built one of the first prototypes of neural network called perceptron. This work would go on to inspire decades of computer scientists, especially early pioneers like Kunihiko Fukushima, Jeff Hinton, Yang LeCun, Joshua Bengio, among others, to devise increasingly sophisticated models, culminating in the deep learning neural network algorithms we know today, giving our machines uncanny ability of their own. At the same time, a second thread started to emerge. Cognitive scientists are looking deeper and deeper into our own minds, shedding light on the astonishing depth and sophistication of our own ability to perceive our surroundings. A clear conclusion of their work was that there is no separating our brains from the environments in which they evolved from. Brains aren't simply machines locked away in the darkness of our skulls, but eager students learning from each glimpse of light, tinge of touch, whisper of sound from the earliest moment of life. For me, in particular, as a scientist coming of age at the dawn of the 21st century, when perceptual algorithms were almost the sole focus of my field, the lesson of the cognitive science was one of scale. The evolutionary and developmental process have benefited from an enormous amount of data to drive our own learning. My collaborators and students and I conjectured that the same would be true for machines. But this time, Instead of collecting data using biological sensors, they will come from modern digital devices and the internet. This inspired my own lab's project, ImageNet, the first internet-scale training and evaluation dataset for AI. Our hypothesis of data as the key to high-capacity algorithms like neural network brought them back to life in ways that previously unreachable, and kicked off a global trend in using big data for AI, now known as part of the scaling law of AI. Finally, however, none of these achievements would have been possible or would have made it to the first passing the starting block without the extraordinarily powerful systems to run them. It began with the milestones like development of the von Neumann architecture, a paradigm of computer architecture first proposed in the 1940s and is still followed today, leading to the first microprocessors in the early 1970s. But amusingly, it was video games that helped push the raw speed of silicon into overdrive. A cottage industry beginning in the early 1990s to make game graphics more detailed exploded into a global powerhouse within just a couple of decades as giants like NVIDIA built increasingly powerful graphics processing units or GPUs. This turned out to be the last missing puzzle to enable network algorithms to learn from internet-scale big data. So if there are any gamers out there, we have to thank you for this. The rest, of course, isn't just history. It's the recipe for building the future. In 2012, at the ImageNet Challenge, my lab has pioneered each of these three ingredients, algorithms, data, and compute, came together for the first time at the scale big enough to transform my field almost overnight. It was the first time machines could understand and reliably describe contents of images, millions and millions of them. It's something we now take for granted today, but it was an unsolved problem at the time, an ability that felt like science fiction. And it was the first domino piece to fall in a progression of milestones that only seemed to come faster and faster as the years passed by. Now, over a decade later, we're still exploring the implication of what this all means. What began as an academic curiosity is now enjoying year after year of breathless attention from business leaders, entrepreneurs, industry analysts, and even politicians with no end in sight. We're now a decade or so into what historians would surely refer as the first true era of AI. By almost any metric you can name, whether it's the CS degrees, AI programs, investment funding, new startups, and much else, AI is a revolution that's only growing in scope and scale. None of you need me to explain that over the last couple of years, AI took another, even more staggering turn with the advent of large language models, which scale each of these three ingredients of modern AI to even bigger extent. A new architecture called Transformer trained on effectively the entire internet of data, powered by a staggering number of the latest and best chips. The result, as we have all seen, was an even bigger explosion in machines' ability than those of the last decade. We now take it for granted that AI can talk to us. fluently in natural language, answering questions on almost any topic we ask, and even generate complex forms of almost any imagery, voice, music, and videos. The astonishing success of ChatGPT, which set record for user adoption, says it all about the impact of this innovation that has made on everyday lives. And the capabilities aren't just superficial. If you look at this chart, the performance of AI models across a whole range of benchmarks, from handwriting recognition to PhD level scientific questions, has skyrocketed in recent years, with some of the performance trajectory on some of the most challenging tasks to humans are nearly vertical. And starting from the fluency of languages, large language models are now taking on a more active role in problem solving, breaking down tasks and planning steps towards achieving goals in real world. Agentic AI, as many are calling it now in 2025, is the latest chapter of this consequential technology for many users and businesses. But there is still more yet to come. There's more than language intelligence. Think about humans and our holistic being as an intelligent being. A new chapter is dawning, one in which the capacity for idle perception is expanding into something far more active. In my own world of cameras and robots, AI is starting to create, understand, reason, and interact in intangible 3D spaces. Whether digital or physical, it can be used to interact with people and things, and we call this spatial and embodied intelligence. Take an image like this one as an example. Our visual intelligence make it easy for us to recognize everything that's in it. The cat, the potted plant, the table, and of course, that glass of milk. But is that really all perception our perception is giving us? I'm willing to bet, if some of you look at this picture, there's more than a few of you are just understanding this image, but also you're dying to reach out and grab the glass of milk before it shatters over the floor. This is a trivial example, but it highlights how profound the difference is from merely observing to acting. It illustrates the inflection point I believe we're about to be reaching, at which AI goes from an observer to an actor alongside us. In fact, with respect to my hero, Alan Turing, I now believe his vision of the future was too narrow and too inward-facing. Evolution itself has taught us unequivocally that the real power of intelligence isn't merely to think, but to drive action with those thoughts. Just think about how much humans' spatial intelligence has empowered us to build our civilization, from ancient pyramids to industrial revolution, from scientific discovery to artistic expression. How will our relationship with the world around us change even further when AI expands our spatial and embodied intelligence? What will it help us to create and discover? What kind of future are we already in the process of building? Well, here's a glimpse of the rapidly evolving technology of spatial intelligence. I'm showing you here 4 examples by my students at Stanford and colleagues at World Labs, ranging from the top, the upper left panel is the semantic labeling of complex everyday videos, to the upper right panel, artistic style transfer, to the lower left panel, generative AI algorithms creating videos from text prompts, to the lower right panel, making 3D worlds from any image. And that's right, you're indeed seeing the beloved painting by Van Gogh of a French cafe brought into an imaginary 3D world by our generative AI models. And equally exciting, robotics, a form of embodied AI, is also rapidly advancing. These two work from my lab are the latest example of combining robotic learning with large language and vision models, allowing robots to perform everyday human tasks in much more open, realistic settings compared to the previous generation of robots that were highly programmed and choreographed. These are exciting possibilities. But if AI were truly become not only thinking machines, but also doing machines, our collective responsibility in shepherding this technology becomes even more urgent and important. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say all this has brought us to a moment of civilizational consequences. So how are we going to navigate this? I think this is also the purpose of our gathering this week. This question has guided my work for years. While I'm certain there are no easy answers to be found, one theme continuously to run across all my work. This is what I call human-centered AI, which consists of three simple values: dignity, agency, and community. First is dignity. In the face of more and more powerful technologies, we as humans are often confronting the question of what defines us, stripping away from all the tasks we're able to do, the fundamental pride of being who we are, making decisions on our own, and conducting actions by ourselves is still central to our very being. Nothing would excite me more if this technology can help protect and even return that sense of dignity to all of us, especially to the most vulnerable. And this is an example how robotics and AI technology can one day help endow the sense of autonomy to even the most paralyzed patients. In this Stanford project by my collaborators, students, a robotic arm is controlled purely by the thoughts of the person, collected non-invasively through EEG, and the recording of brain waves. Our AI algorithms are able to decode that person's thoughts and instruction and guide a robotic arm to make a full Japanese sukiyaki meal. Second is agency. A core tenet of my lab's work has been exploring applications of AI that augments what humans are capable of instead of replacing them. Jobs will inevitably be impacted by the progress of AI, just as every major technological shift in history has reshaped the labor market. But instead of believing that AI help to augment and empower us, from creativity to healthcare, from scientific discovery to manufacturing. Much of AI's skill set are complementary to that of humans. There's so much opportunity for us to take advantage of this digital or physical collaborator to superpower ourselves. My lab's work in the past decade in AI healthcare delivery has shown me many opportunities for AI to help to improve the quality of care and to alleviate the burdens of our healthcare workers. Here are 3 examples of using smart cameras powered by AI algorithm to help hospitals to improve hand hygiene practice by clinicians, to help document patient mobility exercises, and to assist surgical instrument tracking. Last but not the least is community. So much of the last decade has been a story of technology tearing us apart, filter bubbles, rage bait, and all the likes. AI is at another fork in this road, with one leading to AI that overshadow real social experiences and personally tailored content that confirms our biases. But on the other path leads towards a world in which AI helps us to build better, bigger, and more robust communities, such as educational assistants that bring the ability to learn to more and more people, kids and grown-ups alike. Here's just 2 quick examples. On the left, using AI and VR to support dyslexic college students as personalized learning tools. On the right is an AI expert created by University of Buffalo in the US, focusing on augmenting the shortage of speech-language pathologists to come to early intervention for children aged 3 to 10 with speech and language processing challenges. All these bring me to the last idea I would like to share with you today. At this civilizational moment, how can we work together to govern AI in a way that preserves the astonishing potential in a rational, practical, and responsible way? For starters, it's essential that we govern on the basis of science, not science fiction. From the Main Street to the Wall Street, so much of today's AI conversations are colored by sensationalism and hyperbole, resulting in misleading policies of AI governance. Instead, we need to apply a much more scientific method in assessing and measuring AI's capability and limitations, which can consequentially lead to more precise, actionable policies grounded in reality. In turn, this brings me to the second point of embracing a pragmatic attitude instead of an ideological one when it comes to AI governance. AI is poised to be a powerful technology that can help us to live and work better if used well. So instead of hindering the upstream exploration and research of this still very young technology, we should put more focus on its practical applications so that we can ensure its benevolent usage and to guard against harmful outcomes. Finally, we need to invest in far more healthier and vibrant AI ecosystem where academia, entrepreneurs, open source communities, and public sector can all participate and play their critical role alongside big companies in driving this technology forward. If AI is going to change the world, we need everyone from all walks of life to have a role in shaping this change. Earlier in this talk, I spoke about 3 critical ingredients that brought us modern AI: algorithms, data, and compute. If the bulk of these resources are concentrated in only a handful of companies, the AI ecosystem will suffer from the lack of curiosity-driven research, top educational talents, open source efforts, and multidisciplinary explorations. So 75 years ago, Alan Turing saw a glimpse of the future and was inspired enough to dare humanity to build a thinking machine. Today, we have taken Turing's dare to a level that he probably could not have imagined. The technological advances of the age of AI is breathtaking. I believe time has come for new kinds of dare. Rather than simply asking if we can create AI, let's ask if we can create AI as a force of good. In short, today I would like to dare all of us to build a human-centered AI. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear Fei Fei. Thank you. Let them take pictures of us. Yeah, I'll be so proud. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you. I much appreciate. Thank you so much, dear Fei Fei, for addressing us. I really liked the fact that you highlighted science, not science fiction. And I was very impressed by the embodied AI capabilities that you showed us. Now, let me start the continuation of this program. I would like to bring to the stage, or to call to the stage, both Ina Fried and Nick Thompson, who will be hosting this whole event today. Please, Nick, Ina, please join me. Welcome.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
Thank
you.
Bonjour.
Thank you. Bonjour. Thank you.
Je suis Nicholas Thompson. Je suis journaliste américain. I'll be one of the moderators on stage today. We're going to have incredible series of pitches. They're awesome. We're going to see red teamers. We're going to see scientific innovation. We're going to see AI used for good. Lots of great stuff coming. Ina?
Je suis Ina. No, I don't speak French.
Yes!
But yeah, I mean, it's such an important time. You know, in 25 years of covering tech in Silicon Valley, I've never seen a technology move as fast. There's so much potential, and there's a lot still to be worked out and not a lot of time to do it. So look forward to hearing some of the innovations.
All right.
Wonderful. And before we start, we will see the art of Sofia Crespo. Stay tuned and see you soon.
All right.
We'll be back shortly.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just also would like to clarify for everyone that the breakout sessions, the main stage, the auditorium, they're all starting now. So you can either stay here and look at the art and then the use cases, but you can also make your way to the main stage, the auditorium, the breakout sessions. Thank you. It's in the main.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ina Fried, Chief Technology Correspondent at Axios. I'm very excited to share with you some of the presentations that we have on how AI is being used today. And I would be remiss, we talked about the fact that this is a field that has been going on for a while. And we talked about Alan Turing earlier in Fei Fei's talk. My good friend, the former Chief Technology Officer of the United States, Megan Smith, reminds me that Ada Lovelace also played a role. She was in the 1800s suggesting that we need a calculus of the brain, if you will. So with that, I'm honored that one of the first speakers is one of the women helping lead this, and that is Claudia Gomez-Mont, who leads a project called Tech for Nature from Mexico. Claudia.
Constanza over here. And first, what a beautiful stage to talk about such important topics. And to be honest, AI should be a tool that helps us all not only drive mere efficiency, but collective purpose. We know that AI is transforming every industry, but there's particularly one critical area that needs our full attention as an AI ecosystem, which is nature, conservation, and regeneration. And this becomes not only an environmental issue, it becomes an issue of technological access. It becomes an issue of economy. It becomes an issue of fairness. It becomes an issue of economic stability. And let me tell you a bit more about the region I'm from, Latin America and the Caribbean. This region is home to more than 40% of the world's biodiversity. And this is the same biodiversity that is one that is regulating the climate around the world, one that is being the pillars of innovation and the pillars of all industries. However, biodiversity is being lost at alarming rates. At Sea Minds, the organization I founded and I lead, we believe this is not a problem of solutions. It is a problem of imagination. It is a problem of interoperability, of joining the finance, the conservation, and the technological worlds to bring purpose in this field and to drive it both ethically and context-wise. For us, it has meant to explore the frontiers of innovation and how to use these tools to redefine paradigms. Paradigms that are centered in nature, paradigms that are centered in an economy that has a new frontier based on balance, on equity, on justice. Specifically, we're working with AI systems to understand how to protect better the jaguars in southern Mexico, the peninsula of Yucatan, a Mayan indigenous people-rich culture area. And what we're doing is we're developing, together with the local community, which is Mayan-based, and the local students from local universities, two deep learning models that are redefining what is possible for conservation. The models do not only allow us to recognize patterns through camera traps with thousands of images coming daily through these IoT systems, but also it helps us to understand the presence of jaguars and the individual species based on the patterns of the furs, or rosettes, as we know. And this is not only a mere topic of understanding the presence of a jaguar, but I don't know if you know, but the jaguars are considered an umbrella species, which means that if the jaguar is healthy, the whole ecosystem around the jaguar where it's present is healthy. It becomes a proxy for stability and for ecological wellness. And also the jaguar has a rich and profound cultural importance. It is a symbol for not only the Mayan indigenous peoples, but through a lot of indigenous peoples around Latin America and the Caribbean. It is a symbol of power. It is a symbol of balance. It is a symbol of just transitions. And thus you can understand why we're focusing not only in the biological importance of the jaguar, but in the cultural one as well. Having AI and multi-sector collaborations and the partnerships with local community as an interface to create a reality that is more nature-based, that relies on regeneration and redefines the possibilities of justness and equity and fairness. And this project that we're helping drive in the south of Mexico is having a lot of specific core results that are multi-level. One, we have developed a tool and a platform that is open to anyone that is interested in jaguar conservation throughout any region to be able to use our models and use our tools openly without cost to be able to advance their cause on this conservation. Second, we're joining these efforts with another interoperable system where we're using AI sound pattern recognitions to identify the presence of other species. For us, it has meant to identify more than 117 species in that area, which are endemic, and most of them in endangered species. Actually, some scientists didn't even know that some specific species were present in that area. And the data that we're having through these AI-driven systems are helping integrate a platform where we can integrally understand the health of the ecosystem. Third, we're driving policy. What are we doing exactly? This project was a base to create the statewide policy of the 30 by 30 conservation statewide policy on protecting and conserving 30% of land and sea by 2030. And this is not only important for the policy level, but it also serves as a metaphor for global change. Through this project and through the data-led decision-making, this region and this natural reserve was also registered in the global natural reserves of IUCN. And lastly, it became the footprint, the metaphor, and the inspiration for the Jaguar Regional Biocorridor Alliance, which we have presented at COP last year, together with the Inter-American Development Bank and our partners, to be able to scale a philosophy of interoperability. And when I see interoperability, we're going beyond data, beyond technology, but interoperability of knowledge systems, of possibilities. And what we're seeing here are two main things. The first is that we cannot separate technology and AI-driven systems from the social, the cultural, the economic, and the systems that embed injustice. They have to go hand in hand, together with ethical considerations and context-wise philosophies. And second, it has shown and it has become a metaphor, the jaguar, of the type of economies that we should create. Economies that, yes, are led by AI, but at its core have a principle of regenerative justice, like the jaguar of balance and a transformation based in equity. Thank you very much.
So, you know, one of the things about nature and AI is the intense amount of energy use that's being used for these AI systems. How do you reconcile the work that you're doing with AI with the fact that the industry you're a part of uses so much energy?
It is a key question to this work and any type of work that uses AI. So we believe in green AI. What does that mean? We have to recognize that we have to walk towards an AI that we mitigate and we reduce energy consumption. And at the same time, we have to mitigate the ecological footprint. For us, we're working with tech providers that are conscious of the energy use. And while we transition to that energy efficient systems, we're mitigating our footprint with regenerative ecosystem approaches.
Awesome. Well, I had the opportunity, your project's incredible. I also had the opportunity at our AI summit that Axios did in San Francisco. I don't know if you're aware, the Earth Species Project. They're helping us talk to animals. I don't know if jaguars will be a part of it.
Yes, indeed. And we're also working with whales. So
awesome.
We will present that coming up.
Thank you so much. Costanza Gomez-Mont. So our next speaker comes to us from Nepal, is working on a project called Satellites for Humanity. Please welcome Nayan Bakadio.
Hello.
Nayan.
Check.
You're on.
Thank you. Bonjour, mesdames, messieurs. My name is Nayan Bakadio. Today I'm representing Antariksha Pratishthan Nepal and its umbrella project, Satellites for Humanity. Now, first, going back to the project, let's give some brief about the organization itself. Antariksha is a non-profit aerospace company specializing in space tech, especially CubeSats, ground stations, ground station terminals, open source and proprietary software systems with AI capabilities. And we are also doing different research and development projects on AI models for onboard systems and ground stations as well. So now let's imagine that you're sipping a cup of tea in a very beautiful mountain range, and all of a sudden a wall of water comes down, storming, sweeping everything around you. That's glacial lake outburst flood. And because of climate change, a lot of those incidents are being frequent in a country like Nepal and Himalayan countries. Incidents like flash floods, landslides, forest fire, drought, and so on. So Satellite for Humanities aim to fill the gap between the incident and the response. Now that response could be post the disaster or pre-disaster using some early warning systems in place. So in 2021, in Melamchi River, there was a very big flood. So we customed our ground station terminals with a communication to a CubeSat in space that would provide us data of weather from CubeSat to ground station of NAS, Nepal Academy of Science and Technology. We were able to use those data to model some early warning system predictive models. Unfortunately, the ground station terminal was also swept away, but we got the data and we got the learning, so that's fine. After that, we went to collaboration with Kathmandu Metropolitan City with an objective of utilizing all the open source satellite data and commercial data and commercial AI models as well to enhance our systems and provide satellite data analytics. So under the project, Satellite Data Analytics Project, we delivered them with some flood hazards, risk hazards, and all kind of satellite data analytics with AI insights, from which we were able to derive the problems, pinpoint the problems, and provide alternative viable solutions. So with that solution in place, we were able to create some positive impact among 2 million residents of that metro city and around 6 million commuters of that place. To make our system more robust, we are more inclined to AI models like Edge AI, image classification models, image segmentation models, and for ground stations, for making our early warning system more robust, we are using predictive models from the data that we are getting from different glacial lakes and rivers. Also, the population estimation model that we are working on, we have been working on for a few years now, actually uses satellite data end-to-end to provide the estimation of population of a building. So the state-of-the-art model can provide a grid-level population estimation while we challenged ourselves and decrease the spatial dimension and also increase the accuracy by some point. We are able to predict the population of a building of Kathmandu Metropolitan City with accuracy of around 87% till now. And we are working on that to make it more general for similar urban geography, for the model to be open sourced and used on different places as well. Along with that, we have 3 different satellite projects. We completed 2, and we are on the verge of completion of the 3rd, the Slippers to Sat project. Now, with each iteration of satellite project, we have enhanced the systems hardware, communication, and specifically the AI models that we have been using. So we started with AI model for image, Edge AI model for image classification. And we opt for image classification as well as segmentation. And this 3rd one is more better model than that. And we are also testing the feasibility of smaller language model on satellite computer itself. It's like, imagine having a capacity of analysis and rational thinking in a mini satellite it's like having a mini astronaut. It's exciting. And what's more exciting is collaboration with like-minded people and organizations like you on projects like these. And I'm very sure that we will be able to achieve something significant by this year. So thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for giving your attention. Merci. Have a good day.
Thank you. Good job. So, I mean, talk about sort of how did you end up in this work? What brought you to the project?
Personally?
Yeah.
So in Nepal, space technology was a new thing, a big thing and a new thing. So I started, fortunately, I got a very good mentor on first place. And I was also very excited about space and technologies from childhood. So it clicked. And also the narrative that the organization draws about not only being fancy about the space tech, but also actually solving some real world problems step by step. Initially it looks small, but it has a huge impact. And believing on those objectives, it just motivates to do more, to be involved in more projects, to complete more of these. So yeah, it's exciting. The coming projects are exciting. The projects that we have done are exciting. So yeah.
And how can people check out your work?
We have websites. We are in booth number 1, so you can come and have a chat with us. And
Excellent.
we also have a LinkedIn tree, QR somewhere over there.
All right, so if you want to hear more about Nyan's project, they're in booth 1. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So we're going to shift a little bit from what we were talking about, the first couple projects looking at things to, we're going to also switch languages. So next up, please help me welcome Romain Farou from Gaia, and this presentation will be in French.
Thank you very much.
Merci.
Merci, nous allons parler d'agriculture. J'ai le plaisir de représenter la Ferme Digitale, qui est une association de start-up agricoles française qui date de 2016. Et depuis 9 ans d'innovation sur le terrain, dans les fermes, on a des observations sur l'opportunité de valoriser toutes les données qui peuvent graviter autour de l'agriculture. Les start-up de l'agtech produisent de la donnée, utilisent de la donnée, valorisent leurs données, mais se verraient enrichis par l'accès à énormément de données environnementales. L'agriculture, c'est l'équilibre entre de nombreux paramètres, c'est monitorer, manager, modéliser le vivant en conditions extérieures. Ça mobilise donc d'énormes quantités de données. Et en France, si on n'a pas de pétrole, on a des données. On a des données qui malheureusement manquent d'interopérabilité, parfois sur lesquelles on ne sait pas toujours qu'elles existent, des données environnementales, des données de marché, des données réglementaires. Nous en produisons, la Ferme Digitale est née de 5 startups il y a 9 ans. Aujourd'hui, c'est 155 membres, des solutions qui vont de la robotique aux applications logicielles, aux nouvelles pratiques, les nouvelles stratégies de culture, les nouveaux produits, les biosolutions, le biocontrôle. Tout ça rend l'atteinte des équilibres optimums encore plus complexe. Et donc, est une opportunité pour modéliser un maximum des données qui nous entourent. C'est le projet Gaia, le premier projet qui vise à développer un asset industriel favorable à l'innovation, favorable à l'enseignement, favorable à l'accompagnement des transitions agricoles, basé sur des données open source. Pourquoi? Parce que quand on a 300, 400, 500 bases de données qui peuvent nous intéresser pour créer de la connaissance, pour aller plus loin dans la chaîne de valeur, elles sont difficiles à interopérer, elles ne sont pas toujours normalisées. Et on arrive difficilement à se mettre en perspective pour enrichir celles que l'on peut constituer ou produire avec les innovations. Donc on propose d'en agréger un maximum, de donner aux développeurs de solutions un accès à un maximum de ces données ouvertes, parce qu'une partie d'entre elles ne l'étant pas, des données très propriétaires, des données de machinisme par exemple, qui sont souvent relativement fermées. On dit que dans le monde agricole, on a un problème de données en silo. C'est-à-dire que certains acteurs produisent ou agrègent de la donnée qu'il considère comme étant un tas d'or, une valeur certes importante, mais relativement dormante et relativement fermée. Elle ne prend de valeur que si elle circule. Elle ne prend de valeur que si elle est mise en perspective d'autres informations au service de nouveaux usages. Et c'est ce que l'on démontre en s'appuyant sur une base documentaire unifiée qui s'appelle le lexicon. Le lexicon, c'est la première base documentaire unifiée développée par l'association des sociétés de l'open source agricole, OS Farm. Ça, c'est le premier étage de la fusée Gaïa. Gaïa, ça va être un modèle de fondation métier qui va apprendre des données du lexicon. Et quand on a des informations propriétaires qui sont fermées, qui n'ont pas encore été interconnectées, on va aller prendre leur équivalent en open source et permettre aux développeurs de solutions de trouver là, dans les événements comme les hackathons, que l'on reproduit régulièrement pour enrichir les cas d'usage, enrichir la base de données. C'est en fait un principe de la boule de neige qui grossit à mesure qu'elle roule. Plus on rencontre de cas d'usage, plus on crée de justifications à l'interopérabilité de toutes ces données, plus on facilite et on avance cette interopérabilité-là, plus on développe d'outils, plus on développe d'unification de données et de briques logicielles associées pour les traiter, plus on démocratise, plus on décentralise l'innovation, la connaissance et plus on partage. Je pense que vous aurez tous en tête l'idée que se nourrir, bien se nourrir, est un élément fondamental d'énormément de voies de progrès collectifs auxquels on croit tous et que là on souhaite promouvoir dans une démarche collaborative de l'intérêt général basé sur le partage, sur la contribution collective. C'est vraiment les fondamentaux de l'approche de Gaïa. L'idée de s'enrichir en partageant, de faire plus avec moins, de ne pas refaire les uns et les autres ce qui aura déjà été fait, c'est documenté, c'est produit, c'est connecté, et les suivants qui ont besoin de créer de la valeur sur des mêmes sources de données vont avoir déjà énormément d'avance due à ces contributions open source et publiées dans un espace collaboratif. Donc la prochaine édition qui va nous permettre d'avancer vers Gaïa, d'enrichir le lexicon, c'est le hackathon qui aura lieu au Salon de l'Agriculture dans 15 jours. Et donc là, on va exprimer toute l'identité d'une association comme la Ferme Digitale. On ne va chercher des solutions tech qu'en réponse à des besoins. On va présenter des cas d'usage complexes d'acteurs de l'agriculture, agriculteurs, structures qui les accompagnent au plus près du terrain, pour aller se dire qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire de nouveau, quels nouveaux services on peut développer, quelles valeurs on peut proposer aux agriculteurs une fois qu'on a résolu les problèmes d'accès à toutes les données qui permettront de produire cette connaissance. Donc venez au Salon de l'Agriculture, vous verrez des vrais cas d'usage, vous verrez des vraies problématiques métiers auxquelles des développeurs et un collectif qui met en commun ces développements va permettre de répondre. Donc on a le monde de l'agtech français aujourd'hui profite de beaucoup de soutien dans cette démarche et les soutiens de la recherche publique nous sont précieux parce que comme je disais, si on a énormément de données, on les a également parce qu'on a une contribution publique et de nombreux travaux au plus près du terrain. Donc des données de recherche. On compte avec Gaïa également fluidifier les échanges pour que le continuum de l'innovation vive, que la recherche descende, mais aussi que les pratiques remontent vers elle et qu'il y ait davantage de capacité à ce que la recherche puisse valider et vérifier sur le terrain la validité du déploiement de leur connaissance, de leur savoir. Donc la ferme digitale est au cœur de son projet, de la fourche à la fourchette, de la paillasse à la parcelle, faire le lien entre des mondes assez hétérogènes en associant des données multimodales extrêmement variées et en les rendant utilisables par les acteurs de terrain. Merci à tous, n'hésitez pas à venir nous voir sur le stand 5, n'hésitez pas à aller sur le site de la Ferme Digitale, sur le site de Gaïa et au hackathon du Salon de l'Agriculture dans 15 jours pour voir ça. en vrai, une vérité terrain de plus du monde agricole dans le monde de la donnée.
Cool. Roman, merci. So I was trying to use Google Translate real quick, but it wasn't keeping pace. What's one thing you hope that the English speakers will take away?
The fact that in France we have a kind of lab, an experience and feedback from 15 years of AgTech and maturity to see how valorize, aggregate all the environmental data that we have around in the farming sector and around the farming sector to create more knowledge, more new strategies, to be more helpful with the data for farmers.
Excellent.
And all over the world, we have in heart to share that experience and to launch it anywhere we can find the same parameters and problematics. And eating better, being more safe with what we produce is, I think, a challenge that we share all over the world.
And there's so much we need to improve our food technology, especially when you think the amount of arable land, the amount of land we can grow food on is shrinking, our population is growing, climate's getting trickier. But if we can use technology to spread the knowledge, we'll be better off.
Exactly what we think and what we believe in.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Roman.
Thanks to all of you.
So thank you so much. This is our first session. We'll be back around 11, so 15 minutes, come back, and we'll have more presentations. And I'll be joined on stage. My colleague, Nick Thompson from The Atlantic will be taking over. Thanks.
Science, Technology, and Innovation at the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. It's my great pleasure to be here today to moderate this panel where we're going to discuss voluntary commitments, and in particular the Hiroshima AI Code of Conduct that I had the pleasure of launching on Friday last week at the OECD. As the pace of innovation increases in AI, the proliferation of voluntary frameworks as well as regulatory frameworks is on the top of everybody's mind, including ours at the OECD. Our mission is to bring countries together in dialogue, but also to harmonize approaches, to gather data, and to advise policymakers on how to create safe, secure, and trustworthy AI. Last week was a significant milestone for us in the launch of the Hiroshima AI reporting framework for the Code of Conduct. It's the first truly global approach to implementation of a voluntary code of conduct for advanced AI systems. There are others, of course, and I just want to mention a couple. In May 2024, the international AI community took a significant step in the Seoul Frontier AI safety commitments. These commitments at the time were signed by 16 leading AI developers, and they focused specifically on frontier AI systems and established concrete pledges for testing, information sharing, and responsible development practices. The Hiroshima AI Code of Conduct is safety focused, but it's also broader than that. It's more comprehensive and takes on issues like intellectual property, privacy, and data issues. And so it's my great pleasure to have these five distinguished panelists with me today. We're going to discuss the role of voluntary commitments. There are lots of them out there. What role do they play? How can they work together with regulation? It's our deep belief at the OECD that it takes an ecosystem to manage, to govern, and to nurture this technology toward diffusion across our economies and societies in a way that will advance economic growth and human prosperity. So with that, I'm going to turn to my first panelist, Vice Minister for International Affairs from the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications of Japan, Mr. Tako Emagawa. Please.
Good morning. Thank you, Audrey. It's great honor. I'm sorry. It's a great honor to be here, and thank you for having me here in this important session. First of all, let me talk about recent progresses by the G7 and the OECD on the international AI governance in the last 2 years. Japan contributed to the launch of the Hiroshima AI process under the Japan's G7 presidency in 2023 and developed the international guiding principles and international code of conduct for advanced AI developers with the G7 member states and the OECD. In order to ensure the effectiveness of implementing code of conduct by AI developers, we have developed the reporting framework, as just Audrey explained, under the Italian G7 presidency, and launched this mechanism last Friday just before the AI Action Summit. Because the focus of the summit is action, it is very important for the Hiroshima process to foster AI developers to move forward and to put this code of conduct into action. We hope that this reporting framework will promote innovation while improving transparency and accountability in the development of generative AI. And we also hope that efforts based on the code of conduct will spread globally. We also hope to encourage many AI developers to participate in the reporting framework. In addition, as the code of conduct is a living document, we would like to appreciate receiving feedbacks from the participating organizations. To promote safe, secure, and trustworthy AI, not only companies, but also governments should play an important role. Japan is in the process of establishing a new legislative framework for AI. We are trying to strike the right balance between innovation and risk management. And also to ensure consistency with international frameworks, including the Hiroshima AI process. Our goal is Japan, one of the most innovation-friendly countries in the world, and our new legislation will serve as one of the successful models for the global society. Finally, Japan will continue to contribute to international efforts and cooperate with the international society to further advance the Hiroshima AI process And we also would like to invite more companies to participate in this reporting framework. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Minister. It's been a great pleasure to cooperate with Japan under your leadership in the G7, followed by Italy, as you say, to bring this publicly. Let's turn now to some people closer to the action. And I'm going to ask Ms. Lisa Soder, who is a senior policy researcher at Interface, to talk a little bit about your experience, both on the technical side and on the research side, and what you think the role of voluntary commitments can play in the policy ecosystem.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, and a pleasure to be here today. So yeah, I think it's really great to see so much consensus, both in industry and government, that we need to take action on AI governance. And with these voluntary commitments, we really do have some wonderful tools at our hand to get some first feedback loops into AI governance. So to get some first experience, what kind of tools work, what doesn't. And so this is really great to see. Also that the reporting framework has been launched last week. But I think there's still one area where we do need to move faster and take a stronger stance, and this is really centering all around this notion of accountability. We're talking here about an industry where there are a lot of companies that have this mantra of let's move fast and break things at the very core of their company DNA often. And so I don't think this puts in a really good starting position to also trust them to keep their promises and not break them. So what we really need for these voluntary commitments to be a real success and to actually use them as this beautiful tool to get some first feedback loops and move very fast in our governance efforts is to establish accountability mechanisms. To give you like a very quick example maybe from a lot of the reports that have been updated this past week from the companies in terms of how they're complying with the frontier safety commitments that was launched in Seoul. There's a lot of this language in there around we may decide or we aim to decide to share information with governments where we think it might be appropriate if there's risk to public safety. And this is obviously not enough from a citizen perspective, from a government perspective, to trust these companies to do this and take action on this alone. So going forward, I really hope to see more work on transparency. I think framework is a really important first step, but we do have to go deeper and not just ask some high-level questions, but create accountability mechanism, compliance checks. We need to build our governance capacity. And ultimately, I do think it's also an important step to think about how can we put these commitments also on a legislative footing. So I'm seeing here someone from the AI office. Thank you so much for your work on the code of practice. Please keep up the ambition levels. Also people from the UK AI bill, really please use this tool as a great starting point where you can build up your governance effort from there and keep going forward.
Thank you, Lisa. So you've highlighted well that we're sort of at the beginning of what is going to be a very long journey, and having spent time many years in the private sector myself, I can understand that it might be daunting, even for large organizations, to look across the landscape and decide what to volunteer for, how to report, what to tell who and why. And so I'm curious, since we have two companies here on the panel, if you might talk a little bit, Peter, about your experience there, your thoughts around the role of these voluntary frameworks and how harmonization may or may not help in the context of accountability, to Lisa's point. And so with that, I'll introduce Peter Sarlin, who's a co-founder and CVP at AMD's Silo AI.
Thanks. It's an honor to be here. I mean, I obviously represent a very practical perspective from many different actually dimensions, and feel sort of less accomplished than many on the panel related to the process through, say, Seoul and Bletchley Park and Hiroshima and so forth. But maybe I can add sort of, some to what we are actually seeing and have seen for the past many years. Yeah, I mean, Silo, Europe's largest private AI lab that was eventually acquired by AMD in the summer. But we've been in the space for quite a few years. We were founded end of 2017. And been in various different contexts contributing to models and building models, both open source large language models, but also a wide range of other models. I mean, I think eventually, we obviously believe in are committed to legislation, to the regulatory frameworks, and also sort of voluntary commitments. We do at the same time see that there's quite significant complexity by being a practitioner in the space. And I think that complexity comes from the fact that there's no one such thing as AI. I mean, there's just so many different perspectives to what AI is in the real world, be it sort of general purpose AI models, frontier AI, or however you define it, or then sort of AI models that are embedded into everything from, I don't know, say vacuum cleaners to lawn mowers to toothbrushes. And that is the reality we are seeing in the real world, and eventually that sort of practitioners are seeing in the real world. And I think a lot of the say large language models in the real world, they aren't necessarily like these GPAI type of models or general purpose AI assistants, but they're actually relying on open source, and there are hundreds and thousands of them out there for various purposes, optimized for that specific purpose. And open source obviously adds sort of quite a different dimension to the space as well, which I think is sort of already in itself on its own tackling some of this sort of transparency and accountability dimensions that we are looking at with these sort of voluntary commitments as well. So I do see sort of voluntary commitments as a way to maybe bridge the gap between sort of practical implementation and legislation, and help us move forward. But at the same time, I think it is adding sort of yet another complexity that practitioners eventually sort of need to spend time with.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm going to turn now to Lisa Soder, who's Sarah. It's to Sarah Hooker, who's the VP of Research at Cohere. I'm curious, on the research side, do these voluntary commitments come across your radar? What do you think of them? Cohere's been committing to at least the Seoul safety commitments and was involved a bit in the Hiroshima AI process as well. So please share with us your perspective.
Yeah, well, it's lovely to be here. I mean, I think that, so Cohere is a frontier AI company, and so it works on a global first perspective. So actually a lot of our focus, it's very refreshing to be at this summit and to see the focus on global AI and multilingual AI that serves a broader range of interests. I lead our research team, so my focus is on the next generation models. And I think on a personal level, being a researcher in AI, frankly, seeing something which has traditionally been reserved for conferences immediately translate to impact around the world is, at least personally, makes safety and thinking about these topics very pressing. I'll share candidly a few observations. So we submitted a safety framework. This was decided at Seoul. Many other frontier AI companies submitted. There is a wide variance. So it sounds like, Lisa, you mentioned you've read a few of them. I would say ours is very centered on privacy and security and how do we think about data and multilingual impact. There's others that are much more focused on maybe more sci-fi, long-term risks. Everything has to have a portfolio. But the first thing I'll say is I wish luck for the policymakers who have to reconcile this. So there's an interesting aspect to this, which is part of having voluntary commitments. And I think what is interesting about the OECD or Hiroshima commitments is standardizing some of the questions asked. So this is very helpful. I think this is a first step. But the longevity of this will rest on whether it is possible to reconcile and that it's actionable at the end of the day. And so if this is a nice moment, we're all here. There's very few rooms in the world that have all of us at the same time. But part of that discussion has to be an acknowledgement that there's a lot of work ahead. And whether these are, whether this is a, 3 voluntary commitments a year type of thing, or whether it has longevity, depends on, firstly, how do you reconcile these very different perspectives of risk? But secondly, how is it actionable in the long run? So this is a starting point for this conversation.
Thank you, Sarah. I think we fully agree, and it's why I think that Japan and then Italy had the vision of taking principles on a paper and trying to standardize the format, because we have experience in other domains of technology where we have transparency reports on many things out of companies that are not comparable across organizations, and certainly not at an international level. So agree, it's definitely a first step, and the code, I think itself, will have to evolve over time as technology advances. But the objective behind it is also for it to be public, transparent, and so that it can inform our research at the OECD, but certainly everybody out there. So with that, I'm going to turn to a professor to talk to us maybe a little bit more from an academic perspective and his thoughts on voluntary commitments, but also more broadly, the experience in academia looking at AI safety and AI development. So Professor John McDermott, he was a professor of software engineering at the University of York. You have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much. And again, I'm very pleased to be here. And I'd actually like to pick up on some of the things Sarah was saying about making things actionable. And my colleagues and I in York have worked on safety of software-intensive systems for nearly 40 years, the last 7 on autonomy and systems using AI, supported by the Lloyd's Register Foundation. So I think there are cases where autonomy is valuable, but actually with frontier AI, I think they are best used, based on our experience, to actually augment human skills rather than to try to supplant them. Governments have a role to play in managing risks, and the Hiroshima process, I think, is very welcome there. But I think the critical steps actually lie with the companies. They're the ones who can actually shape the models and make them safe. So from that point of view, the frontier AI safety commitments, I think, are very welcome, but actually implementing them, making them manageable, I think, is a real challenge. I'd like to talk about some things from the traditional safety engineering world, but as adapt to software-intensive systems that can help doing that. And the first thing is we have to understand the context of use, and to us, given how broad these foundation models are, that means we need to link what we call upstream safety, which is around the frontier models themselves, with downstream safety, what happens for an application in particular context of use. To me, one of the really critical needs is better measures of risk assessment. These ideas of criticality levels, I think, are a starting point. We need to understand the scale of deployment, things that can be deployed on millions or even billions of devices in several hours or days is a huge risk factor that we need to take into account. We need to talk about societal impact. We also need to understand the ability to remediate harm. If something occurs and we can't remediate it once it's happened, we must avoid it. If it can be rectified, we can take a different attitude to that risk. We also need to worry about single points of failure, and what happened recently with CrowdStrike, I think, is a good example of that. We need to be able to design for safety and for assurance, and that's something where I think the AI safety world can very much learn from the safety critical systems industry. Another really critical aspect is being able to diagnose problems. If problems arise and we can't work out why they occurred and prevent them occurring again, then actually we will lose public trust. And on that matter of trust, I think the idea of safety cases, which we've worked on